I stood there, watching them lower my wife's coffin into the ground. I remember the sound of the dirt hitting the wood, the silence, the finality, because in that moment, I truly believed she was gone. But 2 weeks later, I saw her, alive, walking into a cafe like nothing had ever happened. Not a ghost, not a dream. My wife, the same woman I had buried. And the truth behind it? It was worse than death. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something. If you saw someone you buried with your own eyes, walking around like nothing happened, would you run toward them? Or would you run away? Tell me in the comments. And if you love powerful stories filled with mystery, betrayal, and shocking twists, make sure you subscribe to Broken Vows Stories. Because this story only gets darker from here. My name is Adrian, and 2 weeks before I saw my wife alive, I buried her. Her name was Lena. We had been married for 5 years. She was everything to me. Smart, kind, quiet in a way that made you feel safe. The kind of person who didn't need attention to be noticed. Her death was sudden. A car accident. That's what they told me. The funeral happened 3 days later. Closed casket. They said the damage was too severe. I didn't question it, because grief doesn't ask questions. It just consumes you. Family cried. Friends whispered. And I stood there, numb, because I didn't just lose my wife. I lost my future. Looking back now, the signs were there. Small things. Easy to ignore. The hospital didn't let me see her body. The paperwork was rushed. Her phone was never returned. At the time, I told myself it didn't matter, because none of it would bring her back. But I was wrong. The night after the funeral, I couldn't sleep, so I did something I hadn't done since she died. I listened to her last voice message. "Hey, I might be late tonight. Don't wait up, okay? Love you." I played it again, and then something hit me. Her voice. It didn't sound normal. It sounded rushed, like she was being careful, like someone was listening. At the time, I ignored it. But now, that message felt different. 2 weeks later, I went to a cafe downtown. I wasn't thinking about anything, just trying to feel normal again. That's when I saw her, sitting by the window, laughing, alive. At first, I froze, because my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Then she stood up, turned slightly, and I saw her face clearly. It was Lena. I followed her, not because I wanted to, but because I needed answers. She walked calmly, like she had nowhere to hide, like she wasn't supposed to be dead. Then she stopped outside an apartment building, and someone opened the door for her. A man. She smiled at him, the same smile she used to give me, and walked inside. As I followed her into that building, something else hit me. She didn't look scared. She didn't look like someone running from danger. She looked comfortable, at peace. And that was the moment the question changed. Not, is that really my wife? But, who has she been this whole time? That night, I didn't sleep. I went back to that building, waited, watched. Hours passed. Then the lights came on in one of the apartments. And through the window, I saw them. Together. Not hiding. Not careful. Like they had nothing to fear. I stayed there longer than I should have. Watching. Trying to understand what I was seeing. Then something strange happened. She looked toward the window. Directly at me. For a second, our eyes met. And I swear, she froze. Not surprised. Not confused. Just aware. Like she already knew I was there. The next day, I started digging. Records. Reports. Anything I could find. And that's when I discovered something impossible. The accident report didn't match her name. The hospital record was incomplete. And the death certificate? It had errors. Small ones. But enough to make one thing clear. Someone had lied. As I dug deeper, I found something that made everything worse. A gap. A full year of her life before we met. No records. No job history. No address. Nothing. It was like she didn't exist. And suddenly, I realized something terrifying. I didn't just marry someone with secrets. I married someone with a past I was never meant to know. My wife didn't die. She disappeared. And she wanted me to believe she was gone. 3 nights later, I knocked on that apartment door. My heart was pounding. The door opened. And there she was. Lena. Alive. She stared at me like she had seen a ghost. "Adrian," she whispered. I didn't shout. I didn't move. I just asked one question. Why? When I asked her why, she didn't answer immediately. Instead, She looked at me, like she was trying to decide something. Then she said, "There's more you don't know." My stomach tightened, because somehow I already knew this wasn't the full truth yet. She stepped outside and closed the door behind her. Her hands were shaking. "I didn't have a choice," she said, but I could see it in her eyes. That wasn't the truth. So I said nothing. And silence has a way of forcing honesty. Eventually, she broke. "There are people looking for me," she said. "I needed to disappear." "I didn't tell you," she said quietly, "because you were never supposed to be part of this." That sentence hit harder than anything else. Not the fake death, not the lies, not even seeing her alive. It was the realization that, in her real life, I was never meant to exist. The man inside the apartment wasn't her lover. He was helping her hide from people she had gotten involved with before we met. Something dangerous, something she never told me. And when things caught up with her, faking her death was the only way out. But here's the part that hurt the most. She didn't tell me. She let me believe she was dead. Before I walked away, I asked her one last thing. Was any of it real? The silence that followed was my answer. She looked down, didn't speak, didn't move. And in that moment, I understood everything. I walked away that night because some truths don't fix anything. They just replace one pain with another. My wife didn't die, but the life we had, that was gone forever. I thought I lost my wife the day she died. But the truth is, I lost her long before that.